Hi everyone.
Hi Rahul. Yeah.
Hi Aseem.
Hi Rahul.
Hi Rahul, Tyagi. Hi
Hi.
Sunny.
Hi Rahul, how are you?
How are you doing? All good?
Absolutely fine.
Yes.
Wonderful. So Bablu, are we ready to go live?
Yes, sir. We are already live.
Wonderful. So I hope all of you are doing well, and I take this opportunity to welcome you all and thank you very much for being with us on this a slightly unusual show for me. I've been hosting a lot of formal talks with senior IT and security folks, but I thought that let me take this opportunity to talk to some bright young guys in the industry. So welcome all of you. The purpose of this discussion is very straightforward. We are going to talk about how this whole ethical hacking community in India has grown strength by strength, step by step, strength by strength, and has actually made a huge mark, at a global scale. So what we have been referring to is the Bugcrowd report recently, which titled "Inside the Mind of a Hacker," and India is on top of that list. India's ethical hackers now represent the biggest nationality within the Bugcrowd's network of security researchers. I mean, that's a little limited scope, but still, it is a big achievement for all of us. And what I wanted to discuss, we will come on to those questions, and we will certainly talk about those. But how the whole world of cybersecurity is always shifting with the new threats and zero-day vulnerabilities bubbling up each passing day. The data breach costs going exponentially high. I'm told that one average cost of a data breach is now around $4 million. I don't know how true it is, but you guys may verify it to me. Rising incidents of cyber attacks coupled with all the data protection and privacy laws that are there globally, that brings a lot of opportunity for hackers and ethical hackers especially. And at the same time, there's a dearth of there's a dearth of cybersecurity professionals. Enterprises are in great hunt to hire the cybersecurity professionals. That said, many hackers, many cybersecurity researchers do not really want to join a full-time job. That's also a very strange thing. They are happy doing what they are as independent researchers, as independent hackers, and participate in large bug bounty programs. And these days, the amount that they earn is stupendous. It is very, very high. So with all of these things, I think I will allow Bablu to introduce himself, and then we will introduce each one of you, and then we will go on to the list of questions that we have for our session for today.
Sure. So, hello everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to the discussion around ethical hacking, India's positioning and bug bounty. My name is Bablu Kumar, and I'm the co-moderator of the discussion. I work with Greyhead Media, and I'm also a security researcher and a coder. I have a considerable amount of knowledge in Python, JavaScript, computer networking, and programming in general. So yeah, this is my brief intro about myself. Over to you.
So good to have you, Bablu. That's your first exposure, I understand. So why don't you go on and ask your first question and indicate to whom are you asking that question?
Yeah. So according to the Bugcrowd report, most of the security researchers or bug hunters do web application testing and find vulnerabilities in them. So I would try to keep most of the questions around that. So my first question is a little general, and it is for Rahul Tyagi. The term hacking is still a social stigma. how can we change the mindset of people that hackers can also be helpers? What advice can you give to new researchers on talking about what they do, that others understand the profession better?
So thank you, Bablu, and thank you, Rahul, for having me here. First of all, I think technically hacking means making something to do what is not intended to do. So for example, if you're using a toothbrush to clean your mirror, we'll call it a hacking, right? Now, this is the same thing which was evolved, and I think I'll take in consideration example of my own company. We have more than 200 employees, and on an average, employee age is about 23 to 26. And when I had an interview with one of the people, and majority of them actually, their parents actually forced them to get into this job, which was very surprising. And it's actually evolved with the time. There was a time when we started, our parents like, why do you want to become a thief? That was the right wording. But now the shift has been changed, and I feel like cybersecurity industry has come a long way from being perceived as hackers to much needed professionals. And parents know that also now. And right now, I think it's one of the most, it's already paradise for hackers, because especially in the COVID-19 situation, if you see, there are only three industries which will for sure will go in a long way, which is gaming, advertisement, and security for sure. And I feel that for a youngster, I think, and I think the stigma which is there for hacking, like social stigma that this is a crime, I think it has been removed with the time. And as of now, I can say out of 200 people, it's like more than 90% where the parents have forced them to get into this field. But the funny part is still there is a challenge to tell your relatives that your designation is ethical hacker, but they said, okay, what do you mean by that? But if you're a software engineer as a designation, it is by default well defined. So you don't have to tell the people. So that is the explanation, I think, which is we need to work upon. And that's why we usually now say that we are security professional than a word called hacker or hacking. Yeah.
Okay, let me just take a leaf out of what you said, and maybe there were even today you're right. Hacker is not a very positive term. When we say hacker, there's always a negative image that forms in our minds. And Aseem, I will direct my question, which is completely out of syllabus. And you have been organizing Nalcon for a very long time. It's one of Asia's largest conference, which gets hackers from all over the world. And security researchers and hackers. Rahul, I'm correcting myself. I'm being politically correct. The security researchers and hackers from all over the world. How have you seen this whole community evolving? How is it actually helping the whole cybersecurity profession?
Yeah. All right. So yeah, before I start with the answer for this, I think I agree with Rahul on the definition. The definition of a hacker has nothing to do with cybersecurity. So unless we don't have a patent on the word hacker, right? It can mean anybody can be a hacker, not necessarily people who are in security professional, who are security professionals. So I mean, this has just become more of a badge when somebody calls you a hacker, and so even if you look at the bug crowd report, everywhere they'll mention the word hacker, where ideally I think it should be security professionals, because you really don't know whether the person is a hacker or not, right? But you know for sure that the person is a cybersecurity professional. So I think we need to get our documentation and our wordings correct before we blame on media, before we throw everything on the media. So yeah. From the security landscape, I think we have seen tremendous amount of interest and tremendous change in terms of when I started in the late 2000s, when we were also looking at, I personally was looking at mingling with other security professionals to share learn from them, and during that time I remember there was this OWASP chapters, but they were pretty dormant at that time. So we thought, why not start a security community? Because you have there were a lot of technology communities in India, even from Pune, where I am. there was Microsoft user group, Java user group, Linux user group, any X technology user group, but there was no security group where people could come and meet. So we started this small community called Null, and it's how it's grown over the years. So one thing that I realized was this was actually missing when we started, because then a lot of people came in and they wanted to start their own chapters. And then we moved on to the next chapter where we said, okay, let's have an international conference where we bring in international people also, researchers from abroad, and then we can have the locals interact with them and understand the security landscape. So initially, I think we saw less participation from the perspective of research, but over the years we have seen tremendous increase in the number of submissions that we get from our own country, and the level of research, from basics to really complex and sophisticated research, that has tremendously increased. And there are a lot of factors for it. I mean, one is obviously, there were a lot of communities, not just Null, but there were a lot of communities that started around that time. So people got a lot of awareness. Next was the job security. Cybersecurity was, and starting after late 2000, was a high-paying job if you compare it with traditional software development. So that also got people interested in this. So yeah, all in all, we've seen a lot of change, and I think this is just going to increase.
Right. So, bringing in Sunny into the discussion, what has been your experience? I'm sorry, just give me a minute. I will, I forgot to introduce my panelists. It's extremely bad of me. We have on the panel, I got swayed away right into the discussion. I'm really sorry. So we have Rahul Tyagi, who's the co-founder of Lucideus. He's a pen tester. He's a cybersecurity trainer and a cybersecurity professional. I'll stand corrected every time. We have Sunny Vaghela, who's the founder of TechDefence Lab. He's based out of Gujarat. He's a VAPT professional. He's again a cybersecurity trainer and also a professional. And also you heard Aseem speaking just now. He's a co-founder of Payatu and Nalcon, IoT security trainer, IoT and mobile security pen tester. So, once again, welcome all of you. Sunny, I was asking you, what has been your experience? How has been your journey? And how do you see this whole cybersecurity professionals, the growth of cybersecurity professionals in India?
Thank you, Rahul, and thank you, Bablu, for having me here, first of all. And so if I would talk about my journey, we started very early, when Aseem and Rahul started. So during that time, I could see the awareness about the cybersecurity and, that this field could also be, a game changer in the coming years was very low. So people were seeing this field as a, as Rahul said, why you want to be a thief, why you want to get into something. Because when I started my life, and my parents were forcing me that, Sunny, you should take up a job and, or maybe you go to abroad and, do your master's. But when I said I wanted to be an entrepreneur and I wanted to get into a cybersecurity, the first thing that, the first question that was coming to me, what are you going to do for the whole life? Are you going to scare people? Are you going to, take the money out of them? I was like, no, this is not something which I'm doing without a concern. So, but now if you could see past couple of years, most of the people, most of the parents are now not interested in a very traditional education like information technology or a computer science. They always wanted the students to get into the university or, go forward for the education which has certain specializations out of this industry 4.0. I see number of messages, per day, which are more than 50, asking me that whether, not just a student who are asking me, how do I become a hacker, but the parents are also coming forward and they're asking me that, oh, tell me, how do I actually make my, a guy a cybersecurity professional? So I'm sure people have been following media, people have been following how India has been growing in cybersecurity. And the most important is people are seeing the news stories that where hackers are getting, more than $100,000 US for reporting maybe a 2-page of the report. So I think that has completely changed the mindset of the people. That has completely changed the people how they look at the cybersecurity. And I'm sure in the coming years, this is going to be one of the game changer career as well.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. So my next question is, Bugcrowd's study suggests that 70% of security researchers find vulnerabilities in web applications. Why do you think the web that is about 25 years old is still so vulnerable to attacks like cross-site scripting, SQL injection, and improper user input handling, such kind of very common attacks? So my question is for Aseem.
All right. Okay, so that there are a lot of factors for this. I mean, one of the factors, very important factors, is that defensive security is not incentivized and it's not glamorized. And even if you look at the traditional education that we have right now, we are taught about algorithms, we talk about robustness, we talk about software engineering, but that security piece is still missing in the traditional technology courses. And when you get into a job, your job is more or less to get the software ready, and then the next afterthought is to look at security. So unless it comes top down from the organization, I think it is difficult to do. And second is, there is no such thing as achieving a nirvana in security. So as long as there are humans who are going to develop and design software systems, there will be bugs, right? You take any company for that matter, Microsoft, Google, the oldest of countries, they still continue to have bugs, and even though they have security practices inbuilt in their organization, they implement secure SDLC, they have proper DevSecOps process. Even then, there are a lot of flaws. So it is inherent in terms of when you're developing a software, you will put bugs into it. But these low-hanging fruits obviously can be sorted out in the early stages, and that is something that will only happen with a lot of education, especially for the developers as well as testers, and most importantly for the management.
So Rahul, I was referring to this research, and a very interesting fact which came out was that hackers do the majority of their work at night. I mean, this is again a stigma that dark, very very dark atmosphere, and hackers wearing being very anonymous in their presence. That's not my question. My question is that how do we change this stigma that, as you guys have been saying, that hackers are not so security professionals and hackers, let's keep them separate. It's not necessary that hackers are the security professional and vice versa. So 19% more hacking on Saturdays. I mean, these are data points which make me very intrigued to ask this question, that how can hackers be treated as you said, helpers, and also how can they be the part of problem solving? Why don't enterprises and government, for example, take them into mainstream and make them part of problem solving?
So Rahul, there was actually 7 questions you asked in one question.
I'm going except for, I'm sorry.
So I don't know how many I'll able to answer, but I'll try my level best. Okay. So the first let's come back to Aseem. Aseem said a very good thing, like till the human will be coding, there will be problem for sure. And obviously in future, maybe we can expect AI will be working on that. So if you remember, I think 7 months ago, we published one article on dynamic CISO also, that where I quoted that we can patch any technology, but there is no patch of human stupidity. You can only mitigate that. So I think from 7-8 years, my expertise, like Aseem, is pretty much good in hardware and all. Sunny is in web application. So my focus was entirely on human error, because one is hacking a satellite, but one is telling a farmer in a village that two-step verification is very, very important, right? So someone has to do that job also, right? So that was initially my focus to do that, and I think I'm pretty much agree with that. to get youngster into mainstream job opportunities in private sector as well as in government, it's private sector, I say, is not a challenge, but government it is. Because if I have to be getting recruited by a government agency in terms of web application security or be it any mobile application and all, usually the development of the application which governments are developing are from private organizations already. You will hardly see any government organizations which are building their own application, and except defense and all. But usually you will see the mainstream applications that are coming from third parties. Now, the challenge with there is that there are mainly two challenges. One is that how if the viewers are watching and in your organization, if you have their product inbuilt in-house development team, how many people in the organization who are coders who are trained to have secure code practices, so security from the build is a challenge. And why there are a lot of people who fail to get into organization, though they so-called we are hackers, we know how to hack it. Usually in one of the interviews, and I think I was a part of that league, there was a time, because even there was no one to guide me also. But when I came to the right people and I realized that focusing on the attack vectors is something everyone is doing. So in case of bug bounty also, if someone is coming up with an access vulnerability, if the company asks them, can you help us in patching that? Now, how many people are capable to share a code with them to really patch that vulnerability? So the focus has been always to on the attack vectors. If I perform the POC, I'll get the bounty. But how many people are pretty much knowledgeable with respect to the entire OWASP top 10, with respect to the attacks and with respect to the vulnerability patching also? So the patching was really missing. And that's the main reason when you go and interview, you will say that I know how to hack this, but if they double click on that, then we have the base is empty, So that is a bigger challenge I think we need to address with all the new youngsters who are coming to bug bounty, that getting a bounty is okay, but going deep in that and also helping, and especially for SMBs, if you report a vulnerability to them and this is the problem, they have no idea how to patch it. So this has to be addressed in that. So this can come up with a new guidelines from maybe HackerOne or Bugcrowd, that if someone is reporting, the developer, the hacker, or maybe the security professional should report that this is how you can patch that also, if the conversation goes according to the plan. Yeah.
So in a way, if I can stay with you on this thought, Rahul, in a way you are saying that, I may be completely wrong, but in a way you are saying that bug bounty is a good way of earning quick money. However, it does not give the entire solution to any organization.
So I'll give a classic example of me. There was a time I used to do bug bounty, and again, if you Google, you will see a lot of websites that have find XSS. And to be very frank, the only thing I used to do is find a code on XSS cheat list and try the same code on more than 1,000 websites, sitting there clicking, entering. One pop-up came and we got the Hall of Fame. So now, if some company approaches me after seeing that article, Rahul, can you help us to patch this vulnerability? Now, whether I am capable to do that or not, that is the question every bug bounty hunter had to ask. If you stick to one vulnerability and you're getting quick money out of it, and you're gonna stick with that forever, then you're not gonna land on your face very soon. So you have to be versatile in terms of covering the entire OWASP top 10. So that's why even in our organization, if someone is doing kind of a free time, he's doing bug bounty, though we don't stop them. If they do that, that's up to them. But I usually tell them that OTG guide has to be in your blood, because this teaches you not only the attack vectors, but patch vectors also. And that's the only advice I have. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So the next question is very relevant. So what tips do you have for early career security researchers? Because you said just now that they do not understand how to patch them, those problems. They only know how, they usually know how to just click.
I didn't say they don't know. I said majority of them.
Majority, yes, correct. You're right. So what type of tips you have for those early career security researchers?
So I'll give a small example. Whenever we recruit a person within the organization, there are a few things we are very straightforward. I think when we started our organization, I was technically very empty, to be very frank. And the only thing was that first we did is that there's a very good course, and especially for the students who are doing that, there is an NPTEL course from IIT Kharagpur, and it's from Professor Sen Gupta. And it's kind of a very very time consuming session. But if you really go through those sessions, there are more than 80 videos. This will really it will give you a very strong foundation on the technology. Now, cybersecurity or hacking or ethical hacking, whatever, it comes to the picture when you know the technology in and out, then only you'll able to find out some errors, right? So problem with the youngster is that they don't want to go that deep. Like, take an example of Aseem. I'm look up to him from a long time, and they're doing a great job in terms of understanding the hardware security in a so niche level, which I'm not sure in country I've seen anyone else. So picking a one field and going as deep as possible is something which is I can recommend to people. It can be anything. It can be web, network, mobile, anything. But you have to be stick to one thing. Right now, it's like a kindergarten job opportunities. If you are walking on the road with your parents, you saw a house is burning, you want to be a firefighter, and when you go a little bit again far, you see a plane, you want to be a pilot. So with the trends in the technology, with the trends in the bounty, where the money is going more and more, so people say, there's no job in the industry as of now. I can say we have even in the COVID situation, we have more than 40 openings. But we are not getting the right talent, and the only missing part is the core understanding of the technology, which I can recommend to people. And again, for web application security bug bounty, OTG guide has to be in your blood, and this is the only statement I think which can make the difference. And not only for bug bounty, if you really want to join an organization, it will serve the both purposes, I can say. Yeah.
So Sunny, a very relevant point came out here that, there are positions open, but there is not enough talent. I mean, talent may be there, but it's a very mediocre talent, which Rahul may not be, very satisfied with. And many organizations actually, and that is the reason why this gap is increasing, that there is mediocre talent available because there is, they are taught only that much, and they can't be of much use. So how do you see this gap being filled up? I mean, will there be a probability that they get hands-on training, more hands-on training, and therefore they become evolved in their profession?
Correct. So if I would talk about myself, I've been into the training vertical for more than a decade now. Good number of boot camps or good number of workshops which are conducted from a basic level. So when I go there, people always used to ask whether it is a level 1, when it is going to be level 2. And you teach them level 2, they expect to go to level 3, level 4, level 5. But they need to understand when anybody is teaching you the OWASP or anybody is teaching you, a vulnerability, they will be teaching you in and out of it. But then something that you have to explore it on your own. So let's say if I'm teaching them an SQL injection, there are lots of SQL injection types, right? So if I would be teaching them they need to actually come up with, or they need to do some research onto it. They need to find out how it is working, what is an impact on the parameter, or, if I would manipulate that parameter, what is an impact on the database? But what is missing, as Rahul correctly said, is people do not want to understand the technology. Like we have also been receiving a lot of CVs, and people have been having a lot of Hall of Fames, so many bounties that they have achieved. But when you ask them the basics, they do not know the basics. So the tips I can give it to the people is have your programming fundamentals very clear. Try to be part of the CTF competitions. Even during the COVID times, I've seen a lot of CTFs which are being organized, and one of them are organized by our organization as well. So try to be part of the CTFs, try to be part of the communities. Aseem and team has started a very fantastic way of having null chapters, and they've been organizing a free of cost event in almost every cities now, and even the virtual events also. So even though you don't understand anything, but try to be part of it. And when you actually being a part of those community, you try to collaborate with people. You try to see people, what they have been doing. Try to follow certain Twitter, handles. I can say that, that would actually guide you through if some hacker has reported a problem. What exactly was the problem, how he has reported a problem, where was the problem, which parameter was manipulated, whether I can actually do the same thing with other websites or not. So these are the questions that the person should get, in the mind, my own self. So nobody can guide you on that. So and there are so many HackerOne reports, Bugcrowd reports, which are available. So I think moving forward, if they go through all these reports, they would get the basic understanding of technology, even the vulnerability, how it is working, how to exploit it, and it could be possible they stick to a one particular problem. So I've seen people, they are participating in so many programs at a one go. But I've seen people, they are not succeeded in, finding the accesses. They switch on to, SQL injection, and they try doing the same thing. So don't do that. Make sure that you get a success, from one vulnerability. Try to, get as much information as you can from that particular one thing. Try to learn about the different type of excesses, different type of mitigation strategies for excesses, and then go to different websites and do that. Because if you keep on doing the same thing, keep on doing the different things on the same website or different websites, I would say that. And if you're not actually going to get a success, even in the one particular parameter exploitation, ultimately you're going to lose your passion and the patience as well, and you're going to give up. So I think focusing on a particular thing, particular program is very much important. Having your basics clear is very much important. Go through the reports. Go through, just don't read the stories, that the person has earned $100,000 US, but try to go deep into how he has earned that. See his videos, which are available on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I think you get better knowledge out of it. So that's what I can say. The tips for the newcomers.
No, wonderful idea. And immediately I'm jumping onto a question. Hey, Aseem, everybody has disclosed their credentials. That Rahul said that he had participated in bug bounties. Sunny has, of course, he also has. So, have you ever participated in any bug bounty for big dollars or something like that?
Unfortunately, never. I once tried doing like bug bounty before these platforms, but I got bored in a day. And then I went back to doing my own research. But yeah,
Okay.
But I
actually
can understand the sentiments here. From the perspective of the report, I would say that the report is not very clear and does not clearly showcase the capabilities that we have in the country. Because if you go by the report, I think it says that more than half of the responders were from India, and they were new, which means this year, right?
So they are bug crowd. They are bug crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was, I think, total around 3,000. But if you look at the population, I think India is 4 times more than US. And still the percentage in terms of highest bounties paid were India. And then I think it was around 8%. US was only 8% behind India.
Yes.
So
India
we cannot always fall back on कि हमारे पास संस्कार हैं वाला thing. It has to be realistic, right? If you look at the population, if we have more people, then why are we not earning 4 times more than where US should be? And I think part of the problem is that we look more focus is on low hanging fruits.
So
that needs to change.
Are you also trying to say that there is a discrimination in terms of distributing the bounties?
No. Yeah, what I am saying is that we have an advantage of numbers, but we are somehow not able to exploit that advantage.
And Rahul, why could that be? What could be the reason?
This is the same reason why do Indians don't have a football team of 11 players. Though we have a number, but still we are unable to generate a full football team. So I think the majority of reason, as I again told you, is basically, I think if you compare to US with other, digitalization is just happened. I think the massive scale of everyone is getting an internet in their hands and all. It just happened, I think, a couple of years back. So I think that can be a big reason, and then people introduced to these things and all. And I think, traditional studies versus the professional studies, I call it, or skill set based studies. This is kind of a culture which is also emerged from last 1.5 years. And this is the reason also. And because this number in the report, I think it shows and in a positive direction. Why? Because this will for surely increase with the time. And if you compare the numbers with the from the last 2 years and now, there is a huge I think push to that. And I think in next couple of years we can expect more in that way, and the bounties will. But again, like Aseem said, the low hanging fruits is something we should target first, so that we can grab majority of people into this, and then we scale up from the basic to the advanced level of stuff for the country, and really skill set which really makes sense to at a global stage.
I could not complete my question to Aseem. Aseem, I'm coming back to you. So, so the report, actually, I'll now refer to some data of the report. It actually gives a nice graph of the age group of young hackers. So 53% are in the age group of 18 to 24, and then 32% are in the age group of 25 to 34. 9% are in the age group of 35
to 44.
44.
Yeah.
I think after that, hackers are no more valid, no more interested in hacking. And also the second part of the question is there's a big gender gap. I mean, are females not interested in hacking, or are they not being promoted? It's actually part of every work group or every profession. This gender inequality, big gender gap. So my question is different. My question is that, when these young hackers come into the play, come into the arena, most of them are self-guided. Many of them are guided as well. So what path should they chart for themselves? What is the logical path of becoming an acclaimed and a logical professional hacker, a professional security professional?
Okay, I mean, there's no defined path that you need to follow. It's just based on your instincts on what you want to do. So, I mean, my advice would be to focus more on what makes you, in very simple terms, what makes you happy. If money makes you happy, then go for money. But if research makes you happy, then focus on research, don't focus on the money. So if it is bug bounty platforms, go for it with full heart. But keep your focus, keep your head straight that what is it, what is the end goal for you? If it's money, then there are a lot of other ways you can earn money also, right? It's not just bug bounties. And so money is more or less, this comes from, so I remember there was one interview that I saw of Shah Rukh Khan. I just keep giving these anecdotes, but that changed my perspective. He said that he said the same thing. He said, if you focus on money, then you will never get what you want. So you need to look at what your passion is, and if you follow your passion, money is an outcome, and that will come through. So if money is your passion, that follow that. Right?
Even if it is coming through bug bounties.
Yeah. Whatever it is, then you will obviously, because you want to earn more, then you will create different ways. So basically, you will hack your way into earning more.
Great.
Right.
Cool.
So the next question that I have is, 41% of, according to the report, 41% are newcomers that joined Bug Crowd in the last 12 months. So I would like to know what type of knowledge or mindset one needs to have to become a security researcher or bug hunter or one of the platforms like Bug Crowd or HackerOne. And this question is for Sunny.
All right. Yeah. So Bablu, before I come down to your, the answer of your question, I always say that three things are very much important. To add up to what Aseem said, not only the passion, which is very much important to become a hacker, develop the mindset of the hacker is very much important. Second is you need to have patience. So people do some kind of a courses. They have certain knowledge on, let's say, SQL injection or an XSS. They go to a website and try finding out that. Be patient. You might not be doing everything. You must be doing something out of it. So have patience. I've seen people, even after becoming OSCP, they're not able to get even their first bounty for next 1 year. And I've also seen people, they got the first bounty maybe in the first month. So you need to have that patience. Okay, fine, I'll definitely, earn a bounty if they're more focused on, getting a bounty from all those platforms on private and the public programs. And the third is a never give up attitude. So when you have those never give up attitude, you don't need to give up while learning new things. You really don't need to give up, while experimenting those things. You don't need to give up while researching on new things. I think that answer your questions. Passion, patience, and never give up attitude. If you develop 3 of this, I'm sure that you'll be able to get the hands-on experience on these platforms and earn bounties also. And the very interesting part that I have observed, in my career when I conduct a workshop. So obviously in the 16 hours or maybe a 24 hours, I might not be covering everything about cybersecurity. But when people are attending that, what people used to come and tell me after almost 6 months or maybe a year, that sir वो थ्रिल आपने जगा दिया था, वो हैकिंग का कीड़ा आपने जगा दिया था, तो आपके अंदर वो कीड़ा जगना is very much important, I can say that. And the second thing is, my observation is कि आपका पहला bounty होगा ना, it might take a lot of time, but from that first bounty to your 10th bounty, if you have seen couple of people, who are reporting the problems, it is very smaller time. So I could correlate with this passion, patience, and a never give up attitude.
Wonderful. So going a little bit deeper into the question and what you said, the answer. So, I mean, what type of hacking mindset one needs to have in order to become a good actor, finding such vulnerabilities?
So that's very simple. While you are visiting the, you can say that features or facilities of any of the website, there are 2 ways you can think about it. Either you think of whether I should develop something similar kind, or you think that, oh, I could see this parameter which is going in the request, right? As a developer also, right? You need to have that mindset that whether I could manipulate with this parameter, whether I could send some of my payload in this parameter. So it all depends on, how you think. So when I say that mindset is all about when you look at the website or when you look at an application, try to find out that, okay, fine, what are the, the user inputs which are there, what are the parameters which are there, which might be a critical parameter that could lead or that is connecting to a database of the website. And then when you try to focus on that and refer maybe some 3-4 blogs or 5 blogs or 10 blogs, I'm sure you will be able to get some payloads that you can even try it onto it. When you are trying also, make sure that you understand that, okay, fine, the in and out of, what you have been trying and what is going to be an outcome of it if it is going to be successful. So I think, focusing on all those things is very much important to develop that mindset. Yeah.
Okay.
So Rahul and Aseem, I have this inquisitiveness to know, I've been always told that a hacker thinks more innovatively than the defenders, especially in the enterprise. I come from a enterprise security. I'm coming from an enterprise security point of view, and it's always said there that hackers are more innovative, even if they don't have the whole stack of technology, which is like costly, expensive technology, but they are still thinking far ahead than the defenders, in the enterprises. So why is that? I mean, what's their motivation to be more innovative than the defenders who are getting hefty pay, who have the best of technology at their disposal, and still they get hacked?
And should I ask? Should I go first, Aseem?
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think, Rahul, the 2 important things for everyone to understand why we are here. There is nothing like someone is having a third eye with him. It's all about, I say, it's curiosity and rebelness. These are the 2 things which really makes a person to think out of the box. Just like Steve Jobs, if you're afraid from something and your thinking is limited, you are scared, you don't want to think, you don't want to take risk. So I think cybersecurity hackers or cybersecurity professionals are having an unintentional risk-taking capabilities, I feel, which is not traditionally you will find in other professions. And second is the curiosity to know more. Because when the curiosity to know more is there, then definitely you try to dig more and more what is inside it. And as you go far inside it, you will feel more excited towards it. So this nature, or you can say this quality, really makes the difference between the traditional person who are doing a job or a cybersecurity professional who is doing.
Aseem.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, first of all, I do not agree with the statements that you've heard, because those are biased from the pen testers or offensive security professionals. If you ask the defending side, they will have a completely different view of who's better and who is average. The other aspect is, I mean, from a defender perspective, if you look, the job is very, very difficult as compared to from an attacker's perspective. Obviously, because there is one loophole and you get in through that, you have your win for the day. But when there are 1 million entry points and somebody gets in from one, I think we should we should at least understand or admire the fact that the other person worked his ass off for the other 99,99,000 entry points. So I think this statement has a bit of a bias. And when we talk again from the hackers perspective, who says defenders cannot be hackers? If they were not hackers, then how do we have so much innovative defensive products in the market, right? So that's more of a mindset.
So another, it may not be a related question, but I'm just asking again, as a curious interrogator, I'm just asking. Some of my questions might sound very naive because I'm talking to highly qualified security professionals. I'm also exposing myself in a way. So what differentiates an ethical hacker from an unethical hacker? What is the thin line that one crosses over?
Yeah, somebody wants to take it first. I'll take it.
This I'll take last for sure.
Okay, Sunny, you can go first. I'll have three perspectives on this.
So I see a very fine line between this world of ethical hacking and unethical hacking. I always try to give more examples. Seeing a couple of people who are the ethical hackers, they end up getting no bounties, no good jobs. But yes, they know how to get data from dark web, how to get data from deep web, how to sell those data, and how to make money out of it also. And I've seen those people also who are doing all this stuff, but when they have realized, no, this is not something which is going to go longer, they eventually shifted to this ethical paradigm of this hacking, I can say that. So it's a very fine line, a very difficult question for me to answer even, but I tried my best to give you the answer.
Okay, Aseem.
Okay, yeah. I mean, first of all, you need to define what you mean by ethical and unethical. I think that is very important. If we are talking more from the commercial or media or marketing perspective, it's just a marketing gimmick to give you a different name so that you can sell.
Sure, you can correct me on this.
Yeah. So you really need to first define what is meant by unethical, right? So for example, somebody's hero could be somebody else's terrorist, right? As we see in. So you really need to balance it out. What do you mean by unethical? Does he do unethical things when he's in office? Does he behave badly with his management? Or does he sell 0 days to governments? Right? What is it that makes him unethical?
Absolutely.
So if it is about finding 0 days and selling it to governments, it is a business, right?
Okay.
And a lot of companies do it professionally. So somebody who does not agree with that will call them unethical. Somebody who agrees with them will call them ethical, right? Because they're doing it ethically.
Call them
Selling it in a legal way to the government. So you really need to define what is unethical and ethical here.
I think you gave the definition to me, Rahul.
my definition is that there is no definition for ethical hacker, because if you go and start defining the definition, it's an endless debate on that. And I think this is the time when youngsters are watching. I think they should stop getting attracted towards the word ethical hacker. It's a media gimmick word for sure, and it doesn't define the kind of an standard operational process which to follow if you really want to be ethical hacker. On the other side, if you really see a profession, like there's a web application pen tester, there is a network pen tester, so on and so forth. These are designations actually, and well-defined skill set which is required. So if someone really wants to get into this thing, my request for them is just to find the heading of the designations, see the CV, what are the required stuff a company is asking, and look at themselves that what I know and what I need to improve, and then go ahead within this field. Yeah.
Okay.
Go on.
Yeah. So my next question is for all of three guests, our guests, and the question is, what are the top 5 tools that help you most when you are hacking? One by one. Sunny.
Okay, so I could say that the work suite is always good for me to get into a web applications or find out something on the mobile applications. Second would be, I cannot say it is a tool, but it's a website, which would be more like the Shodan is always helpful for doing the reconnaissance. The third I can say is one of the tools which we have proprietary developed, in our own company, which is TechDefence, which we have been using also. And the fourth I can say is Kali Linux, as something which is a combination of so many tools for anybody to follow and use it. So I mean, these are I think 4 to 5 tools which I guess are my favorite tools.
So the one you talked about is the proprietary tool. What does it do, and is it open source for the world?
So that's more, see, whereas our focus was more on the application side. So we have developed our own proprietary, the framework and proprietary tool, which would be more like, you can say, not a complete replacement to a bug, but it is working similar to bug, but doing an automation as well as some manual expertise together, and as an ability to even integrate with any of the things as well. So it's more like, you can say that an application pen testing tool. Yeah.
Okay. So it was from the point of web application penetration, testing point of view. So next question, the same question is for Aseem, because he is coming from IoT security background. So what are your top 5 tools that you use hacking?
Okay. My top 5 tools are pretty generic. Anybody can use it, whether they're in IoT, web, or mobile, infra, whatever their field is. So they are brain, eyes, hands, laptop, and internet.
Lovely.
Oh.
Can't be better than that. It can't be better than that. So that leads me to another question. I mean, observation from the report. We are dissecting the report as of now, and the report said that 78% of hackers say that AI alone isn't enough to outmaneuver cyber attacks over the next decade of hackers. So I mean, what you are, as you rightly said, that you have to use your own brain to overcome and overpower anything that is going wrong. So what is this whole discussion about that AI is giving us the power to analyze more, think beyond what humans can think?
All right, let's just finish the previous question. I think Rahul is left with the 5 tools, and then we can take on the next question.
This data which is okay. So if you're curious to know about what I used to do, I think when we started in 2012, I think at that time I really do not use. The only thing which I was not using was brain.exe, which I started using, and then after I think couple of years, then I think my favorite tool was. So I'll say it's a framework of Metasploit for sure. It was my favorite. Then Burp Suite, obviously, for some mobile pen testing. At the initial time I used to do by myself. And then I say Maltigo for information gathering, OSINT, which I extensively use in XYZ things. And so I can say OLEDBG. There was a time when we used to exploit exe file for reverse engineering and all. And I still remember Lena Reverse Me. It was a full series of sessions we used to take for students. So I think these were the couple of them, but I think now I'm pretty much in touch from a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, Aseem, getting back to you.
All right. Okay. So if we look at the technology, the AI, and the technology available currently, it is not sufficient. You know, again, it is more of a media and marketing hype on what capabilities does AI have as of now. I look at talks and research that people are doing, and I remember back in the early 2000s when I just graduated and I joined my first company. I was working on some of the machine learning and other models which people are still talking about right now. So apart from glamorizing it, the basic capabilities that it provides as of now are not sufficient from a cybersecurity standpoint, both from protection as well as attack perspective, and it's going to take some time. So we have not reached the Terminator stage of AI as of now, and it's pretty simple in terms of what it can do. Pattern matching, it's good in pattern matching, I think, and that's where it stops as of now. But after 10 years, we don't know how much it's going to.
I love the phrase Terminator stage. Rahul, do you share the same view, or is there any contrary view? Because I will then take a few questions which have come from the audience.
So I think I don't want to add anything into it, but again, because it's a gray area, I can tell you right now, I don't see. Definitely from a company's point of view, when we are really trying to, so as a CRQ based company, we're really trying to understand something which is not there as of now, right? So you have to think something which is upcoming to in terms of attack vectors and so on and so forth to predict something, I can say. So there was a time when you try to be reactive, I can say, then we start to proactive. Now I think it's a time when you want to be really predictive. Now in future, for sure, from a company's point of view, definitely it's a long journey to go, but the work has been started for sure with every company. If we really want to survive for the next 5 years, we have to focus on that area in a very, very serious manner. And I think that right now, I think again it's a long way to go for sure.
Okay, so let me just quickly take two questions that have come. So one of my senior friends in the industry who has worked as a senior IT professional, Suhas Maskar. He was with M&M last, and now he works as a consultant. So he says that, will the software be bug free when developed by AI? I mean, Aseem, you had just thrashed AI completely. I understand. You've said that it is a marketing and media gimmick. But do you think that the question holds validity, and will it be bug free if it is developed by non-humans?
I don't agree still. I mean, you will still have, eventually the AI is also developed by humans, right?
Yeah,
you can use AI both ways. I'm giving a wild idea here. You can use AI for developing something securely, then you can also use AI for breaking something.
Destroying it, correct.
So yeah, this will always be a cat and mouse game. I don't think you can have a system where that you feed in the requirements and it gives you 100% secure code.
Okay, so another question which is completely different from what I asked. When an organization recruits a security professional, now there's a dichotomy and there's a dilemma as well. On one hand, Rahul, you said that you want a skilled professional. Many organizations ask for certifications. Now, there's a gap between certifications and skills. Certifications, I know, everybody knows. Certain certifications are hard to come by. Certain certifications are doled out like nobody's business. So what is your view on certificates, certifications and skills, or certification versus skills? What will you prefer?
So I'll give you a small example of within our company. We used to have a policy that there is a certain percentage is required or certain certifications are required to get into organization. I still remember there is a guy, his name is Clint. So I will not say his full name. He came as a student, and within I think 2 months when I talked to him, and he was superb guy in skill set. Though he was having 23 supplementaries in his BTech.
Oh God.
Now, no company is really interested to recruit him because the entry to sit in an interview, obviously you have to crack some exams and then there's an interview and there's a criteria. And in 90%, he's just slashed there. Then I talked to Saket. I said, there's a guy and I really liked him and I want to get him somehow. And because of him, when he met him, he's blown up. And he said, okay, because of him, we changed our policy. And we need the skill set. Okay, but in certain designation, definitely you need the certification and all, like CASSP and so on and so forth. But in terms of, I'm talking about a VAPT point of view, at least in this genre of job opportunities, I think that skill set definitely, instead of certification, I more look at what is the code chef rank, HackerOne rank again, if it is there, how many CTFs, what is the hack the box rank of that person, and after accumulating these things, whether the person is in champion in something in his life ever or not. For example, it can be badminton, it can be anything, because that's a person who have really some passion in his life to achieve something to the top level. So anything, it can be painting, he's the best painter in his village or whatever in his city and all, along with these skill set. So I will rather not recruit a person with 99% and have no live project in his life and no rank in terms of code chef or whatever. I will get a person with 60% of skill set with no certification, but a good rank on hack the box, code chef, hackathon, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Sunny, quickly, your views.
So I completely agree with both the point of view. I mean, the same thing that we have been doing. So we give them the practical, the things to hack. If they are able to do it, and it is as good as you can do it. I have had, the heads of the departments of the VAPT who are mechanical engineers. So I hope that gives your answer. So although they are the mechanical engineer, but they started with the cybersecurity, then they've done a lot in the cybersecurity, and then by the time they have graduated, so even in our industry, I can say that experience, or you can say the maturity comes with the age, but experience cannot come with the age. A person, you need to count their experience when they've started, their journey into the cybersecurity and what achievements they've done in the cybersecurity. So yes, it is possible that you might have a 2 years guy, you make him ahead, and you might have 4 years guy who is still the security analyst in the company. Yeah.
So Aseem, I will change the question a little bit. Not the question. I will change the track a little bit and ask you a different question. In your experience, when you interact with the industry, when you interact with the cybersecurity professionals, are they mostly from an engineering background, or they can come from any background?
Not really. I mean, it's a mix. A lot of people are from, science background, like BSc or BCA. So I've met few with BBA as well. Forget that. I am my professional education in the starting is hotel management.
Oh God!
And then I changed to MCA just because I wanted to get into security. So I wanted to, go through the computer fundamentals first, and then, move up the chain into security. So from our company perspective, day one, it was very clear that your degree, marks in school, college, and certifications will not be considered.
Don't matter. Okay.
Yeah. So whatever they are, we don't care. What we look at is what are your contributions. So action speaks louder than words, right? So if you have contributed to open source community, contributed to finding bugs, nice bugs, you've written research articles, those are the ones that we look for in the CV.
I think that's great. Both Rahul and you had, so Rahul, you actually gave a very nice perspective, how you pushed for a case that, you will look for 60% skills. So, as a, we are just running out of time, but I will ask one last question to all of you. So, if India has to become, now I'm making another very hypothetical statement. Aseem, you can shoot me down saying that it is again a media hive, but I'm just asking that if India has to show that show that power of having people, having skilled people. So where do we focus? Where do we need to focus more? Or do we need to focus on seeding basic cybersecurity courses in the universities? Get these assembly line workers who has more certifications, or we inculcate the culture of doing more research, doing more innovation in their own domain. How should it become better?
Yeah.
So I guess,
yes.
shall I start?
Yeah, please go on.
Okay. So Rahul, to answer your question, I believe the education into the cybersecurity should be incorporated at a university level. Now, again, I am not agreeing to whether the same faculties are going to teach that education. There are industry players, put them in, and it should be, the education without any kind of a books, I can say that. So the reason I'm saying it should be incorporated at a university level and people should go for such courses, the reason is because, see, emotionally also you've been developing yourself while from a teenage you are becoming an adult, right? So उस टाइम पे होता क्या है कि if somebody has reported a one problem, you have that comparison of the people. अब ये, I've seen most of the guys, getting into a bug bounty at an early age, but then after they've completed their education or maybe they're in the last years, they've realized, no, this is not something that I wanted to do for next 5 years or maybe next, for the next whole of my life. So I think that education, once it is incorporated, that would help students to understand the basics, see the opportunities in the cybersecurity field, and then they would realize that which vertical they can choose, end of their, the degree. So that's my take on this question.
Aseem.
All right. So yeah, from my perspective, I think I agree with your second point, where we need to build that culture of research more from a practical perspective. Research and innovation rather than churning out in your factory, people. And so if you look at history as well, when does the actual research happen? It has always happened during an emergency time.
Absolutely.
Right? We can remember the last time when everybody was talking about going to the moon, and once people went there, they came back and nothing. Absolutely zero research. We still have the same old planes. Nobody's talking about ultrasonic speed aeroplanes that can take us from India to New York or India to US in 2 hours or 1 hour. Why is that not happening? And that's purely because there is no emergency or there's no war time after the 1950s or so there needs to be some kind of a push somewhere which will drive people more towards innovation. I think building the culture is the first thing that you can do, and we're already seeing there's a lot of stuff happening in universities as well now. So it's just a matter of time.
Okay, Rahul.
So I think what is going to happen, I'll come to what we are doing. So this is the same problem I think I saw near about 3 years back, and on ground level I think we are one of the rare security company who is running a full-fledged diploma course in cybersecurity with the Delhi University from last almost 3 years now, and then we are doing a 4-year BTech program, full-fledged, designed by us. Faculties are ours, and majority of them are OCP. And if a person who's going and teach their mobile subject for 60 hours, he's the same person who's doing the VAPT and the pen testing for mobile applications hands-on within the organization. So out of entire year 60 hours, he has to deliver that lecture. Now the student is actually getting an education which is actually from the ground level, which really makes a difference than the traditional boring subjects which are there and all. And the outcome of that is that really sparks the curiosity and knowledge from the student. And I can proudly say that we have the largest publishing of papers on ExploitDB from first year students. And that is and again, those papers are not 100% the hardcore research you can say, but you can imagine a 12th pass person is publishing a paper on ExploitDB. For him, it's a great boost in his career. And then there's a huge time to take care of that. And I think it's a entire ecosystem. If really government is serious to do that, which they are, and which we have seen from events like DSCI and CTFs are there. A lot of CTFs, government sponsored CTFs are happening in India. And so I think, but the main, I think the core interest in security, and if we really will become the next Israel, if I have to be very bold in say that education has to come from schools, I can say, not from even college. So, for example, from 3 years I was working on something, and in August we'll be launching something which will be from the school level, the awareness level, which is there today. If you know Rakshit Tandon, is a good friend. If you see, his life is dedicated to in terms of securing schools in India.
Yeah.
And today is not any more challenge where someone is putting a chingam on someone's hair. Today they are making a video of theirs and putting on social media. It's a chaos, right? Now that is a huge problem, which really creates a base in security. Once we cater that audience, then these are the same people will go to the colleges, and then we'll cater them with the right education in terms of right certifications, in terms of right exposure. Why not a university can sponsor an entire 50 to 20 students to go to Nalcon or maybe some other conference? Then when they come back, they will really speak about it, and that creates a culture. And in the end, when they're in last year, now for example, when we are running these 4 courses with the universities and all, there is no holiday on their summer vacation or winter vacations. Every summer holiday or winter vacation, they has to come in the organization and do an internship.
Okay.
Now, full 4 years or full 1 year, whatever, they have to do internship every 6 semester. Now, can you imagine how familiar they will be within the organization culture? And at the end of the 4 years, it's a ready-made product which we can give to any companies and to help them to secure the stuff. Yeah.
Bablu, do we have any other questions from the audience?
We have a long list of questions.
So
but the problem is
we have a time limit. So in the next 5-7 minutes, if we can pick up a few questions and ask Bablu.
Sure. So, one question, as we talked about AI. So when AI, the question is from Devansh Arya. He writes, when AI comes in future and start making web applications, so will be able to find any bug in applications on that time? I mean, same questions, question that you have already answered, Aseem. So what is your point of view again?
I'll go with the same answer, but if you have the determination to find something, you will definitely find something.
Yeah, if you are determined to find flaw, then absolutely there will be some flaw. I can guarantee that. Best of the software companies in this world have not been able to change that status quo at all.
Another question Monish Thakur has asked is, have you ever experienced a serious breach? The question is for Rahul, Tyagi, and Sunny and Aseem. I mean, all of us, all of our guests.
Go on with the question quick.
Have you ever experienced a serious breach? I mean, this is the question.
We keep on seeing that with respect to whenever we get a request from the clients and all. And again, it's a daily kind of an work. So again, it depends on how serious the breach is. And if it is like a Canara Bank hack or a Bangladesh bank heist, are you talking about that, or again you're talking about a traditional pharmaceutical company being hacked and their page is defaced? So that again, it's a difference. And definitely, the way we are in the business, this is daily seeing kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask one more question. I'm again, my curiosity has again come up. Sorry. So there was a time when this whole ransomware momentum started. There was a time when an attacker could ask for ransom and then just keep quiet. I mean, go silent. Today, it has reached to the stage of again, Aseem, I'm very, very cautious about saying anything in front of you. Again, a media hype, a term called ransomware 2.0, where the attacker not only asks for ransom, but also even after getting ransom or even after getting an assurance to get ransom, moves to the second stage and puts the data on sale. I mean, where will this whole thing stop? That's the unethical part of it. But you're getting ransom, but you're exploiting it further.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is purely unethical, right? So from unethical, I mean to say it is illegal. So if you're doing something illegal, obviously it is unethical. But there is no stopping these activities at all. And how would you guarantee trust or empathy from a person who's already stolen your data and asking for money? So
Very right. Which is very right. Absolutely right. Rahul, any thoughts on this?
So this is same like, criminal is putting a gun on your head and say, trust me, I will not shoot you. So it's again that now it depends on who you want to trust. We have seen cases where people have paid the amount, still nothing came out, and we have seen in the cases like in the Maze ransomware that the malware, that the ransomware designed in such a way with little bit of ethicalness from if the criminal says that it is not infecting the medical devices. But the recent problem which we have seen from last, I think, 4 months, especially from the COVID, it's the cloud-based ransomwares, which the scale of those ransomwares are pretty much high now, which was not, because usually people say, okay, put the data on cloud if you really want to protect from ransomwares. Now they are coming on ransomwares and mobile-based ransomwares also. So this is again, there is no stoppage of that unless there is a very hardcore control list on cybersecurity, on mobile security, or maybe to really protect it from these type of attacks. And again, it's kind of an endless fight, I can say.
Bablu, one last question from the list.
So I guess would like to add something onto it.
Yeah, sure, Sunny, please go on.
See, the most important is even after getting hacked or being infected from a ransomware, I would add one more thing to a question, that the company should realize the investment into the security, right? Because I've seen a couple of organizations that even after being infected from a ransomware, they've reacted like, we might have a backup, which might be a little older, but we would make sure that our business would continue and we would get our system up and running in the next couple of days. The most important is not to get your system up and running again, but are you really solving the problem? So that is the most worrying part, that out of, I can say that 10 companies, almost like 6 companies or maybe 5 companies, almost, they realize that, oh, I need to invest into the security, or I should, invest something into security so that I can make myself protected from it. But there are still 5 companies who are not realizing the impact of it, and they're still going to get hacked, in the next coming 1 year or maybe 2 years, and then they think, okay, fine, this should be on my priority list. So this should have been on my priority list a year back, and then this situation would not occur. Yeah.
Okay, so I have my last question that I also wanted to know from these experts. The question is, what type of vulnerabilities do you think are still so common in 2020 that security researchers should focus on to earn good bounties? And this question is for Sunny, Aseem, and Rahul again.
For me, I can say that the account takeover problem, which is more like a logical vulnerability, but which most of my employees, always coming to me and saying that, hey, sir, I logged in from a normal user account and I got an admin privileges of certain web applications. So I think that would make them earn a lot of money. Yeah.
Okay. Account takeover. And Aseem?
I really don't know, because I'm not much into the the whole bug bounty thing, other than speaking to the bug bounty companies. But from what I understand, majority of the bounties are on web applications and mobile applications. So I think OWASP top 10 should be an answer for that.
Okay. And Rahul?
So I think he answered my answer already. But to be a little bit different, I can say that again, the same thing. Don't stick to particular attacks. Again, you will limit yourself. That's the only problem again we are facing, and it will increase more. So I can say that, like Aseem said, the OWASP top 10 OTG guide, it has to be in your blood if you really want to do bug bounty. And suppose you will not get the bounty and you're frustrated, at least it will help you to land within an organization to really do a job through a robust control list which company will give you, and with the time you will enhance your skill set with the time. So doing a holistic approach towards the bounty hunting is the right approach. Instead of particularly focusing on particular attacks for the money, even you fail there, you will succeed somewhere else at least. Yeah.
That's nice.
Great, thank you. I think we overshot the time by 15 minutes, but I can go on for as much time as I want to, but I will not take the liberty with any one of you. I respect your time and I respect your participation, your agreement to come on this platform. I think this was one of the most. Sure, Rahul, you want to say something?
add one thing, Rahul. Yeah. So in whatever is a physical world or a virtual world, your sessions always extend at least 15 to 20 minutes always.
I don't know whether this is a compliment or this is a curse to me, but
it is a compliment for sure.
No, so I thoroughly enjoyed, and very frankly speaking, and I'm not bound to be obliged by saying this, but I'm very frankly speaking, this is one of those conversations that coming from your heart. I did not even look at any of the questions that were there on the list to be asked to you guys, because as original security professionals, I can ask certain questions to which I need some original answers. For example, Aseem gave some really busted some of the myths. You in the very beginning told that there's the stigma around ethical hacking and how should we look at it differently. So these conversations actually are very enlightening and they give very different and fresh perspective. So again, thank you very much, Aseem, Sunny, and Rahul, for your time. I think it was I thoroughly enjoyed. I don't know how much will you curse me after this conversation, that such an immature conversation, Rahul. Sorry. Great having you. So thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you,
Thank you
Rahul.
so
Thank you, Sunny.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Bablu.
Thank you so much.